Hello. Are you ready to sort things out together in your first mediation session? How can you prepare yourself for best results? Hello, I'm Hind, a mediator, coach and trainer. Now, as your first mediation session approaches, you may be worried about all sorts of aspects. That's quite understandable, but we all know that most things we worry about never actually happen. That doesn't stop us worrying, of course. Now, over the last 17 years of mediating, I've known far too many people pull out before they get to their very first mediation session, only to end up in court months later. Well, why? Because they generally let worry and fear get the better of them. In this video, I want to share with you my 4 main tips that have worked for many of my clients over the last 17 years, helping them to prepare psychologically, emotionally and practically for their first mediation encounter. The first tip is research. Please do your research and make the most of your pre-mediation meeting with the mediator. The better informed you are, the better prepared you'll be. It should also give you more confidence. Don't try and wing it. You may want to watch my videos about mediation and what a mediator does, how to choose a mediator, and what a MIAM is and how much it all costs. The second tip, and perhaps the most important, is this. When thinking about mediation, ask yourself the right questions. What do I mean by this? Well, these are the self-reflective questions. They'll help you put yourself in the right frame of mind when the time comes. I would even suggest writing out the answers to these questions in readiness and in preparation for mediation. First, for example, ask yourself what you expect from the mediator and mediation process. Is it realistic? For example, please don't come to mediation expecting advice from the mediator. Have a look at what I say about this in my video, What Does a Mediator Do? And carefully read the mediation agreement, which sets out the terms and principles of mediation. In mediation, the mediator can provide you and your former partner with very useful information about the law in a neutral and balanced way, and will help you both think about this in relation to your circumstances. This way, you can avoid the risk of being given different information and different advice by different professionals, which would simply add to your problems. At the very least, if you're not sure what to expect from the mediation, please watch our videos and come to mediation with an open mind. Second, what do you want to discuss in mediation? Again, it helps to be specific about this and write these things down, because at the beginning of the first session, the mediator will ask you for these things. These will form the mediation agenda. Now, I'm not suggesting that you come to mediation with a carefully prepared position or set of proposals prepared by you and your lawyer. In fact, I recommend you don't do this because this can immediately divide you both. What I do recommend, however, is preparing a list of things you want to focus on in mediation with an open mind. For example, do you want to agree a parenting plan covering the amount of time the children are going to spend with each of you? Or is it a financial agreement you want to try and reach? If it's a parenting plan, have some ideas ready, but be wary of being too black and white. The chances are that you may both have different ideas about what works for you and the children. It'll be the mediator's job to keep you on track with these topics and help you both explore different views and different perspectives. Third, and this may be more difficult, ask yourself what you believe your former partner may want to discuss in mediation, whether you agree with it or not. Remember, it's about being ready, prepared and open to discuss things of importance to you both. In mediation, if you can both find things you need from each other and are prepared to give each other, you'll be amazed at the breakthroughs and progress you can make. The mediator will help you with this approach. Fourth, what concerns you most? Establish in your mind what are your most concerned about. Try and be specific about these things. They can relate to emotional or practical issues. For example, you may be concerned about selling your home where you and the children live. Selling your home may be closely connected with your practical concerns for financial security and standard of living, as well as the emotional concerns for security and status. Fifth, ask yourself what you believe your former partner is most concerned about. These may also relate to emotional and practical concerns. Look, before and during mediation, clearly identifying what you need and want, as well as what your former partner wants and needs, will be key to a successful mediation. People in conflict often find that the most difficult thing. It's not particularly difficult to understand that for 2 reasons. Firstly, you may not have thought about that in the turmoil around separation. And second, often the last thing you want to think about following a difficult separation is what your former partner wants or is worried about. But if you want to try to reach your own financial agreements and parenting plans together, that approach is essential. Mediation can be tough because, unlike court, the responsibility for making the hard decisions starts and ends with you and your former partner. The mediator will of course do everything in their power to help you both, but the ultimate responsibility is yours. The third key: take a short, medium and long-term view of the problems facing you and your former partner. You don't have to settle everything in the first mediation session. Only the other day, one of my husband clients turned up to the first mediation session with a completed financial schedule, expecting to settle everything in the first session, including the sale of the family home where his wife and children were living. It was clear to me that his wife was still emotionally reeling from the separation and extremely worried about the prospect of having to sell the home. Added to this, she had very little knowledge of the financial circumstances and felt at a distinct disadvantage. Now, in our first session, we ended up having to progress much more slowly than the husband had wanted, and probably more quickly than the wife had wanted. Had the husband insisted on moving faster, I'm convinced that the mediation would have collapsed and the case ended up in court, taking considerably longer and cost a great deal more in many respects. It may be worth having a look at my first video, The Separation Challenge, before you come to your first session, and be ready to be flexible with the timetable. The fourth and final tip: take the plunge, conquer your fear and go for it. Action cures fear. More often than not, you'll feel a great deal better once you get started. It sometimes takes great courage to work with your former partner to sort things out for yourselves, even with the mediator's help. Having mediated for over 17 years, I would be the first to acknowledge this, but it's also this fear that leads so many separating couples not to make it to mediation. And then what happens? Well, with my lawyer's hat on, I can say that a lawyer's support is likely to be very useful and in some cases essential at some point during the mediation process, but not necessarily from the outset. Receiving a lawyer's letter, however sensitively worded, can make the person receiving it feel very vulnerable, angry and defensive. How do you think you might feel in their situation? So, in summary, my 4 tips. Do your research and make the most of your mediation information and assessment meeting, your MIAM. Ask yourself 5 questions. What do you expect from mediation and the mediator? Is it realistic? What do you want? What does your former partner want? What are you most concerned about? And what's your partner most concerned about? Third tip, take a short, medium and long term, key in terms of time frame. And finally, fourthly, take the plunge, don't back out, go for it and prepare well. Thank you very much for watching and good luck with your first mediation session.